Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stuck in the Phantom Zone. I'm your host Steven, and I'm here with Arcee. And
Hello.
yeah, uh, we're here to talk
We
about
back, baby. We back.
we're back, man. We're slowly coming back. Um, but for today's episode, I wanted to actually interview my cousin because I want to know more about his photography background, just the origin story of him getting into um, photography and all that stuff. Um, so
Secret
first,
origins.
yeah, see
Oh,
your secret
nice.
origin story about it, because you've been doing this for a long time. Like, kind of okay. So how long have you probably been doing photography for?
I've had an interest in photography since high school days.
Hmm.
So I was I had I took a class in high school, and then that kind of carried me through. So that was in my senior year of high school, which was, oh, I dare not say when I graduated high school, but it's back then. It was way
Hmm.
back then, and it's still carrying me through to today.
Yeah. So how long would it be? Like probably like
It's
let's put a
going
years on it.
on, putting a number to it.
Yeah, let's put
Almost
in
20 years now.
20 years. 20
Yeah,
years of photography. So
yeah.
okay, so it pretty much started high school. Was it kind of prevalent throughout high school, or did you kind of take a class and then, there was nothing else to take in high school, but you kind of still kept on with it, or was it just kind of like how did that
Uh,
work in high
so
school?
so in hindsight, so my very first exposure to photography was even earlier than that. I had gotten this cheap camera at Chuck E. Cheese for like a number of tickets. I was just like, I want that, and I had some tickets and at the booth, and it was a slim little point and shoot camera. For all you film nerds out there, it shot 120 film, so it's not your standard like 35 millimeter film. It was actually like a smaller format, and it's actually a lot harder to process and all that, because like nobody shoots it like that anymore. But like I had gotten the camera, I had no idea what to do with it, so it sat in my room. Eventually, I looked at like the instruction manual that came with it, went to Walgreens and bought like a roll of film, and then I just like shot with it for a while, and that was probably like middle school. I have
That's
no
cool.
idea what those photos look like, because I like they were probably like all crappy. My hand was probably covering the lens and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But in high school, I had a photography class, and in hindsight now, I don't even remember if I actually signed up for that class. I think it was just given to me,
Hmm.
and so with stars kind of aligned there, because that's where I kind of found my passion for things. Because one, the photography class was like just an just almost like a study hall. Like nobody took the,
Yeah,
the class
yeah.
seriously. We were all kind of goofing off, and then the professor, or not, well, my teacher, my high school teacher, would like come around and say, "All right, here you go take a picture of this," and then of course, we do our assignment in like 1 or 2 days, and then we'd have the rest of the week to like goof off and
Hmm.
all that. So, uh, but I remember my first critique with the photographs, like everyone kind of, I got like a good response from it. And it wasn't like anything like mind blowing. I wasn't like the next hot shot photographer or anything. It was like I was taking a picture of a pile of leaves and whatnot, like your standard photographs where when you don't have anyone to like model for you. It was like, oh, I'll
Yeah,
go
yeah.
take a picture of this tree limb, or I'm gonna go take a picture of some like anything that was in my front yard.
Yeah.
But I had gotten like a good response from it, and I was like, oh, cool. And I had like a big passion for art. I love the creative field, and I don't know, something just sparked, and I just had a lot of fun with photography, and then so I just decided to keep on following that.
So did you like after that class, it's like when did you actually think it was like I could do this like in college? Like was it that class or was this like maybe, end of high school? Like what was I guess how did that turning into something that you really want to do like further, to like college stuff?
Well, I didn't even think that like you could get a career in photography. I didn't have that kind of scope yet. I thought, okay, photography is just for you want to take pictures of family photo. All I know is like high school had picture day, and I thought that was what extent of photography was. You'd go
Yeah,
around
yeah.
and take pictures of high schoolers, and I was like, this doesn't sound fun at all. Um, but eventually, and this kind of ties into my love of movies. um I'm a big movie nerd. I've watched a ton growing up, and so I just kind of started seeing that correlation of like, oh, you can make something look beautiful. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be like, it doesn't have to just be a pile of leaves and stuff. But I would see all these like classic movies, like Citizen Kane or Titanic or anything, and I was just like, oh, what if I could create that kind of scene in a single image or something?
Hmm.
Or what, like, I started correlating like video cameras to actual cameras. I'm like, it's almost the same thing. They're shooting, well, pretty much still photos, but they're moving pictures now, or like the literal term. And so I was like, oh, that kind of jived well with my love of movies. And so I just started picking up a camera and pretended I was like shooting my own kind of movie with images and all that.
So like what was your first, do you remember your first camera that you bought or you had that you were working with? Like
Oh
and
yeah,
what
I
what
remember
kind was it?
because it wasn't even my camera. It was my dad's camera, and it wasn't even his camera because it was a camera he found in a garage somewhere in his work. So like someone had abandoned a camera, and he just took it home with him, and it's like, all right, this is my camera now. The Filipino, if
That
it's
is such,
if it's no
yeah,
one's
that's
there around, it's like it's mine
exactly.
now.
It's like a 5 minute
And
rule. If he hasn't seen someone touch in 5 minutes, we're taking it.
yeah, it's like no one's around, it's mine now. And so that eventually became mine because I needed a camera for an assignment, and I had just your standard like point and click zoom lens. That was pretty crappy. I remember I went on a field trip to St. Augustine with my high school photography team, and everyone had like the cool DSLRs, and I had like this crappy little point and shoot camera that the flash would always fire, and I couldn't get any kind of like decent photos out of it because it was all just blown out by the flash. But so my dad gave me this camera that he found in the garage in while he was at work, and I was like, okay, I'll use that. And I actually still have it. It's actually one of the cameras I can't just get rid of, just because it's so sentimental to me. Like, dude, this is
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
first this is the first camera. um and it one, like, I think the meter inside was busted, so it didn't give me an accurate picture, but at least it would give me like cool, in photography terms it's called bokeh. It's like when the background is kind of blown out, or kind of blurry and all that.
Uh-huh.
And that's like, for me, that's like, oh, that's all that matters. to me. But yeah, it was like there was a huge crack down the side of the casing, and I had to like put electrical tape so it wouldn't expose the film. And then and I just kept working with that even through college. Like Eugene, my brother, had gotten a cool camera, even better model, and he was shooting with that. And it's like, it had the working light meter, had the zoom, it had all these like bells and whistles. And I'd be like, no, I'm gonna still stay with my broken taped together camera
Yeah.
and whatnot. And so, but it was a Minolta camera, and I had only like one lens for it. And so
Dang. That's crazy. So like, what do you remember? You remember like, well, okay. So what was your favorite photo that you took? Do you remember like one of your favorite, like one of your photos that you took with that kind of like sticks with you, or was it kind of just, what pictures were you kind of taking at that time?
so I tried to do all sorts of things with the camera. So like, I tried to use the camera in like different ways. So people, not that I'm saying like my way was better, it's just I had a different method for doing things. One, because I was shooting by myself a lot of times, so a lot of times I'd set my camera up on a tripod, put the self timer on for like 10 seconds, run, go pose, and then come back and pray to God that like there was a decent picture in that whole
Yeah.
debacle. But like I would go to St. Augustine sometimes, and I would just like stealthily just take pictures of people. Like I would have
Yeah.
the camera to my chest, and I would have it set to like a certain focus. And I knew that, okay, if I'm within like 10 feet of this person, I think that picture should be in focus. So I'd go around and I just have a camera to my chest, which sounds creepy and possibly illegal today, but it got me like cool photos and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
But
cool.
like being a solo shooter, you had to kind of like be creative with like,
Mhm.
how do I get cool photos when I'm all by myself
Yeah,
and whatnot.
yeah,
I couldn't go to like my brother and be like, hey, want to pose for me?
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, and what year was this? Like, early
This
2000s
is
or
this is
late
early 2000s. This was probably 2007, 2006. So I was
2007?
in community college at the time.
Hmm.
And
And
it's
were you
like,
studying photography in community college, or?
yeah, I had taken classes there. And I still hadn't set my eye on it to be like the degree I'd follow. This is more for I just need hours.
Electives? Yeah, elective type stuff.
Yeah, I just need elective hours. And so I had taken photography class, and then I had gotten like some good feedback from my professors, which, in hindsight, again, they probably gave that to everyone. But for me, I'm just like, oh, I found my true calling. And so, I still keep some of those photos with me today. But yeah, I was doing all this crazy stuff that wasn't like kind of your normal photos. People would go around, take pictures of like their friends and
Mhm.
whatnot. And I was like doing like these light leaks, slow shutter speed, kind of blurry photos and almost abstract, which was a lot of fun. And I was just getting this cool feedback. But
Cool.
yeah. And so
So like, so I guess so that was kind of like the turning point for you, right? When you actually kind of was like, maybe I because you were in limbo, right? Like you were in community college. Did you have like something that you were eyeing before photography where you're like, maybe I can do this before, we had, because I mean, when you're in community college, you're taking general courses just for hours and stuff. But did you have
yeah.
something before photography that you were kind of like, maybe not eyeing, but just kind of like maybe, or was this just still
Uh
up in the air pretty much?
it was still up in the air. Like I said, this is all influenced by like my love of film and movies, and I didn't want to go to like a film school. I was like, okay, let me do photography, and because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, you can get cool shots. You just don't have the actors, or I mean, you just don't have like the budget, or you just kind of dealing with what you have. But um, yeah, I would just continually kind of see things as like if this was a movie, how would I shoot this?
Yeah.
And so that kept on influencing me. But like I said, I was still in limbo in my decision for taking photography class. But no, it's just I don't know if there was like a definite moment where
Hmm.
it was, what, this is the path for me. I know for a fact that my parents, when I told them like, oh, I want to pursue an art degree, they were like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
how much?
How much
You're
does
not
that
going to be a
make?
doctor?
Yeah, the top
Yeah,
three
you're like,
questions. Yeah, it's just like how much gonna
yeah, you're not
make?
going to be.
Why aren't you a doctor or a nurse? And
Yeah,
can you sustain? It's
yeah,
are you sure?
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I told like my mom and dad, and they're just like, I got like this kind of like wrinkled brow, like, no, you're supposed to be a doctor because that's what you're that's what we were expecting you to be. And I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
I'm more of a creative fellow. I like creating things. I like
Hmm.
kind of exploring. That's like the main thing. I was like, I love exploring and using my imagination and
Hmm.
kind of filling the world with my own kind of mind and all that. So,
That's cool. Like you mentioned before, like you were talking about film school, I guess. Were you ever like, did you ever want, you mentioned you didn't want to go to film school, or you just kind of like you wanted to, or
um
was it what was that like?
I wanted to. So there was like, I had this packet in high school for Full Sail University.
Hmm.
Um and it's based in Orlando, and I was like, I wanted to go, but I'm like, I couldn't leave Jacksonville. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I guess I'll stick with photography and all that. But um yeah, I would love to like make movies. I actually like did make home movies with like my crappy VHS camera and all that. But
So you wanted to be like a director, pretty much. Like you wanted to go to film school to be sort of like behind the camera, sort of like.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Except like, I wanted to go straight out of high school and be a director in Hollywood and all that, or be this world-renowned photographer. I'm just like, no, that sometimes that path doesn't just easily open for you
Oh
and all
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, but so okay, so pretty much we'll move on with the journey. And you mentioned you took a photography class in community college. So pretty much you went to UNF, right? You went to UNF for
Yeah,
college.
yeah. Went in UNF. I started in so I graduated community college in 2008,
Hmm.
and then started in UNF. And then that was when, like, when you have to make your decision in college, like,
Yeah.
okay, once you start this is kind of your path. And I was like, okay, let's I still have, like, I had to kind of like reassess, like step back and reassess for seconds, like, is this really the path I want to go to? Because that door to medical school is gonna close and all that. But I'm like, you know what, I still have a passion for all this, so I'm gonna follow this rabbit hole down. And what,
So how close were you actually to medical school? Did you ever like
not close at all.
not class at all? Okay. Because I was
Not
like,
close at
wait,
all. Yeah.
dang. So what did
Yeah.
so what were your mom and dad trying to like they were actually like pushing to be a doctor or something, or was it specific like
Yeah,
a nurse
or
or
or something. Well, of course they're like, it's got to pay well.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things where I had to like reassess, like, do I want to be in a job that pays well, or do I want to be following a passion and be in like competitive market and
Yeah.
probably not get paid as often and all that. So
Yeah.
I had to reassess that decision. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stick with what I feel like I'm going to have more fun
That's
rather
true.
than working in a
Yeah.
different field and just feeling like I don't belong there.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that process is, how long do you remember how long it kind of took for you to kind of make that decision? Were you just kind of like, taking just, kind of just sat down, just laid everything out, or was this kind of like something you thought about
It
for a
was like,
while?
I mean, it wasn't like a unanimous decision right off the bat. It was something that I kind of battled with through the degree, through my like photography degree, like even to like the last days of like in college. And I was like, you know what, I'm about to like finish my degree. Is this like all these years that I've spent working towards these, is it going to be like worth it in the end?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like once I step through these doors, once I'm done with college, that's the real world. And things might not pan out the way they should.
Yeah.
And it's I would rather have like a fallback plan
Mm-hmm.
um that makes like a decent amount and all that. But I remember one thing that kind of drove me was my professor, um senior in college, gave me like the statistic that said like people who graduate um from college after 5 years, they're no longer in that degree,
Mm-hmm.
or they're no longer in that field of their study and all that. And like it was like a high percentage. And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be like that. I don't want to be
Yeah.
a number statistic of just like, oh well, he's got a degree, but you know what, he didn't he's another one of those people that just didn't follow it out, and now his degrees collecting dust on a shelf somewhere. And all that. And I was like, you know what, I don't want to be like that. So I kind of like put on my bootstraps, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to follow this through and hopefully not be a statistic, add to
Dang.
the statistics and all that.
I
So
wish I wish I some the professor told me that, or I heard that. I wish I kind of heard that earlier in college and stuff. Because I mean, it's true. Like, that's still accurate today. Like for me, like I have a degree in business administration, and I was just kind of like out of it after a couple years. And so, I mean, it's definitely one of those things where, going to college, you want to make sure you're doing something that you truly enjoy and want to, have a passion for. And I think that's like that's kind of like the X factor is like, you have the degree, but, do you really love it to pursue it for another 10 to 15 to, for however long you want to do it for. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That one of the things was like that always drives me is, if it's not work if you're having fun. Like if you're
Mhm.
having fun, then you could do it all day. And photography was like something that's like, it's something of a passion. I have fun. This isn't work for me. This isn't
Yeah,
like a job, 9 to 5 job for me. This is something that like I'm having fun. But as soon as that kind of passion starts fading and starts dying, as you start losing interest, then it starts feeling like a job. Then it
exactly.
starts feeling like maybe this wasn't something that is going to carry me through for the next 30, 50 years. There's not the nest egg that I imagine myself
Yeah.
building and all that.
So you were in UNF for what, 2 years to finish out your
Oh,
degree? Or how long? Okay, how long
I
were you at UNF for?
I wish I was in UNF for 2 years. That's the normal thing. No, I was in UNF until spring of 2013. That's when I graduated.
Okay.
So from 2009 to 2013. The only reason why is because the program I was in, they offered one class that was only available once a year, and you needed that class to graduate it, and I missed the cutoff, so I was on the wait list.
Wow.
And then the class filled up, so I had to like wait another year.
That's crazy.
For that. So, I know. And then like right when I graduated, they're just like, yeah, we're gonna drop that and you're allowed to do this. I'm like, dude, I just used up a whole year.
Oh my gosh. What? Probably all the complaints, man. Just,
Yeah,
like maybe
probably.
you should have it at least once a year if the demand is so high, especially
Well,
with the recommendate, like you have to graduate with it. Like you can't just make that a one-time thing a year.
Yeah, they like right the last semester, right when I was graduated, they're like, you know what, we're going to offer this class, and this class can substitute this class. And it was a class that it was offered year round. And I'm just like, dude, why didn't you tell me? I just wasted a whole year in college, sleeping in libraries and doing whatever I could to like at least get my hours, and at least get enough to like keep my scholarship and all that.
So I guess so describe your it might be hard to just describe, but try to describe your 4 years at UNF. How was, in your opinion, looking back, like how was the program to you? Did it like, yeah, talk to me about that, because I mean, yeah, so 4 years in UNF.
So one, I'm very, very grateful for like all my professors that I had there. Like I took every kernel of knowledge that I could get from them. Like, and I still apply it to my kind of method of photography today. Like whenever I'm out on a project, I'm running through the list in my mind of like all they've taught me. And I've, it's been almost 10 years since I've been in college, and yet that's like my handbook, my Bible when I go out into the field or I'm doing a project, and I'm just like, you know what, run through these things that you were taught. And so I'm like very grateful that somehow like all those things were like ingrained into my brain. It's not something that could just like go away. It's become second nature. It's like part of my DNA now. Mm-hmm. And for school, a lot of people were like, oh man, school, I just need a pass. I just need the college credit. And then all that's kind of like all that knowledge goes out by like reverse osmosis. It just like it disappears from your mind. But for me, it like I tried to like etch that into my essence. And so I'm very grateful for like all my college professors that like that I took. Like I actually have there was a photo that one of my classmates sent me, and it's like a picture of like she had gotten it. So she had seen me through like the classroom door, and you can see like everyone in the classroom is kind of like dazed. It's probably like one of those classes where it's like a 3-hour lecture and everyone's kind of like laid back and like, oh God, how many more hours is this class? And then you see me in the middle, and I'm just like absorbing it. I'm just like, oh, this is really cool. This is really cool. And I was like, God, that's how I look like in the classroom. I'm like that studious geek that's just like, oh yes, I'm gonna take in every word that you say. But yeah, and then I had this one professor, famously, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to name him by name, but famously he was very, very tough on students. Like when it came down to like art critiques, he was very famous for like yelling at students, and he actually had like throwing like dartboard darts, and if he hated your picture, he'd like throw darts at it. and ruin
Wow.
your picture. And so everyone, I think, had a degree of fear for him. He was like J. Jonah Jameson in Whiplash. Like if there was something wrong with your work, he would point it out to you and just like crumble you. He would just like break you down. But it helped push all these like my classmates like make better work, mainly just to not get yelled at. But like it pushed me because I was the the shy, quiet kid, and I was like, oh man, how am I going to survive this? I'm like, I don't know how to speak up. And then it eventually came down to like, okay, suck it up, show what you have to your professor. And he bit into me at first, but eventually like that kind of pushed me to perfect my work to the point where like he actually got in front of class. He looked at like everyone's projects and he's just like, I want you all to be like Arcee one day because his work is a lot better than all this crap that I see up here. And I was
Dang.
like, okay,
Wow.
thanks for name dropping me, sir. I'm gonna go
The
cower in the
pressure.
corner now. Yeah, pressure. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing something right. But yeah, that was fun. But when I graduated, like I took everything I could. I even have my college notebooks with me.
Mhm.
So that's all like influential to my work and all that.
You have like a do you have a favorite photo that you took in college that you kind of like were very proud of? And I know you're probably proud of all the pictures you took, but was there one that kind of like stood out to you um and just was like, wow, that's a pretty good picture?
Um, there's a couple. So I had the classes that scared me the most were the ones where we had to work with models, and of
Mhm.
course, being me, I in college I had like one or two people who would like volunteer to pose in my photos, but then like um there were sometimes I had to hire a model, and so
Mhm.
it's just kind of weird because like it's my quiet shelf and I'm sliding over an envelope of money and like, here, I want you to, can you meet me here and pose for me for 2 hours and all that? Like
Mhm.
literally that's what happened. I had met like the sweetest like model who actually enjoyed, like, she actually said she enjoyed working with me compared to like other photographers because I was just so goofy and loose in while I was working. Um, so that she felt comfortable and just like, what, I love working with you. And like,
Mhm.
so cool, that strengthened my confidence and all that. But like, so those photos really came out well, a lot of my modeling photos. But then my senior project, so for your last semester for your senior project, you're given one assignment that you have to work on for 4 months, and then at the end you have to give like this huge presentation in front of all your professors, like, all right, this is the project I started on from like birth, walked it all the way up to being this. We actually had to present it in a museum gallery, and
Wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
like a little art gallery which is like downtown.
Mhm.
And I had no idea like what I was gonna do. I wanted it to sound like, oh, I'm gonna create this thing that's gonna be up in the Louvre one day or something. But no, it's like, at first my initial like concept was like they worked with me with it, and then eventually it, they were like, all right, you're doing good with this. Maybe if we could see a little more of this, or and so working with my professors and checking with them like constantly, like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like, so we had like 4 months to do this project, and then a lot of a lot of my classmates during that time, like, I didn't even see them again. They're just like,
Oh,
oh
wow.
cool, 4 months to go do whatever I want, and then I'll check in once a month with my professor, see if I got like his thumbs up, and then I'll
Go
disappear
back.
for another month.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But there was like a handful of us that were like grinding out like every week. and constantly in communication with the professor, and even to the point where like before my final semester, and this was like a week before Christmas. Christmas, this was like December of 2012. Everyone had already gone home for like the holidays. Class was like technically over, even though it didn't end until like a certain date. And so everyone pretty much like, I'm done. I already got the final grade. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But I was sitting alone in a dark computer room working on my final project for the next semester. And it's like a sad kind of sight because I'm sitting all alone in like this dark computer room, and like my professor like peeks in. He's just like, Arcee, what are you doing? And I had kind of like already knew what the assignment was, and I just wanted a head start. I was like, sir, I'm just kind of professor. His name was Professor Carabinas, and I was like, I'm just scanning photos, trying to get ready for your class next semester. And he just like patted me on the shoulders, like, good man. And he just like went out the room. He's just like, yeah. So I was grinding before the last semester started and all that. But I think all that kind of worrying and communicating helped me create like my final project and all that. And so I was very happy with.
What was the final project? Do you remember
so I was working with mirrors. I kind of wanted to like create this kind of abstract disjointed photo. So I had taken like these broken mirrors and went out around my neighborhood, or went out to like downtown or some other places, and I held up like this broken mirror to kind of create this fractured image that was kind of like, what the heck am I looking at? Am I looking at a tree, but like it's fractured somehow? And so I kind of dealt with that. And so my final project, which we displayed up in like the Southlight Gallery in Jacksonville, was like these, I think it was like 4 images. And they were just like all these disjointed kind of pictures that that kind of made you kind of wonder what you were looking at the same time you kind of knew like, oh yeah, that's the Statue Memorial Park, but it's somehow inverted and lopsided and fractured in like a million pieces and all that or something. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it's like I could probably improve on it today, but like back then I was just like, yeah, this is my Starry Night by Van Gogh. This is my masterpiece.
So I guess so for the final project, how were you critiqued, or like when once you guys were in the gallery, did the grade already come in, or what was it just like? How did that
not
work?
Yet. That the gallery show was more just like, hey, we did it, we're at the end. Like, here's your work displayed in like a professional way, like here's your name and lights and all that. And so that was fun. It was like an evening where we got to like dress up in suit and ties and invite our families down. It was almost like show and tell, except in like an art gallery,
the most professional setting.
It was like like those school days or those days in like middle school were like, oh, you're gonna show, here's a little paper mache your son or daughter did. Except mine was like framed and like took like blood, sweat, and tears instead of just like 30 minutes of paper mache. But yeah, like a lot of people came out to the gallery, and then I got to like talk about my work with other people, and I get to see what my peers were doing these past 4 months that I didn't see. They're just like, where the heck did you guys disappear to? And what have you guys been working on for 4 months? And then, yeah, and that was just like a fun night and all that. So, and then afterwards came like the senior review where you're just like you're it's literally like a spotlight on you, and like my professors are sitting in the dark and you're just like, all right, explain all your work that you've done from
What
the
the
start of college till now. And you're just like, okay.
really? I'm like,
Yeah.
where do you want me to what the how long
Yeah,
was
it's
that
like,
answer? That must have been like a dang, like you said you want me to do another presentation?
yeah, it's like, dude, I've been with you guys for 4 years. You should know by now what my
I know,
work's like.
right? I'm just
But
like,
let
don't
me
you
put
have
in.
copy? Like, you don't
Yeah,
have my work tracked, man. Like, seriously?
I know. But
Okay.
yeah, that was like, I remember that day I was like sweating bullets, like to the point where like I was sitting in a Starbucks and I was drinking a frappuccino, but like one of my classmates came over and like pat me on the shoulders, like you're gonna be all right. And I was like covered in sweat and all that because I was like, I knew I was up next for to
Yeah,
give
yeah,
my
yeah.
presentation. And it's not a short one. It's like a 30-minute presentation where you're up there talking
Wow.
about your work that you've done till then. And I'm just like, public
Wow.
speaking is
30 minutes?
public
That
speaking.
seems like an
Yeah,
eternity.
I know.
Damn. 30 minutes, like, man, that would have felt like 30 hours to me. Like, I would have been like, is it 30 minutes yet? Like, no, it's only been 8 minutes. I'm like, you've got to be kidding
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I would be like holding a paper and like, and that is all I've done until now. And I'll look at my watch and like 5 minutes has passed. And I'm just like, so what are we going to do for the next 25
So,
minutes?
everyone just
Yeah.
wants to chill again. I just,
Yeah. So
anyone
like,
needs to use the restroom. I just,
yeah.
that's
No, thankfully, like my presentation uh went the full length of time.
good.
But yeah, I was just racking my brain. Like I actually almost had to change shirts because like I had so much sweat on me and all
Dude,
that.
I
And I
feel
was
the
just,
same way, man. I'd be like pacing, bro. Like I'd be like, I would get to like the school if I mean, there are definitely certain scenarios, especially when I took speech class and stuff, and I was just pacing back and forth. I'd be like there like an hour beforehand, just like pacing, and then I'm like,
yeah,
it's your turn. But once you get out of it though, like once you're done, like it's the biggest like boulder just off your shoulders. It feels so good. It's like you just want to take on the world. Like I did this.
yeah,
So
yeah. I was just like, I did it. Now give me my freaking degree
I
already.
know, right?
Let me get out of here.
You've put me through so much. Like
Yeah,
like a gallery show for 4 months, 30-minute presentation. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah. And
mean,
I had been working on my senior project like this semester before. So
yeah, 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 yeah.
so I was spending a lot of time, not only going to work at my normal job, not only going and helping out at church, but I was like devoted to like doing my work
For
at
doing your
college
work.
too. So I was
Yeah.
like, so I would like in between that time, I would be asleep in the library and all that
Uh-huh.
because I'd just be so exhausted. I'd be like, oh, you know, I got a couple hours before my next class or before I have to be here. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to like the fifth floor of the library, find the darkest corner, and just like
Sleep.
collapse between some
Yeah.
bookshelves and all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, okay, so you got your degree, you know. What was next? So how would like did you hit the ground running? You were like, let's take some photos. Like, how was your mindset after college? Did you have like a kind of a path that you want to kind of set up for yourself
um,
afterwards?
you know, so like how I said like my professor would say like, oh, after 5 years, 75% of your people who had taken this degree are no longer in this degree field or off in another job that's like completely separate from what you went to school for. So I felt like I was on a time clock for it, or like I was on the clock. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I got 5 years to prove everyone wrong, and I could still stay in the photography field and all that. But so after college, it's pretty much all those resources are now closed to you. All those like open lab hours, all your photography material, they're not going to be covered by your scholarship anymore. It's all going, you're on your own. And so I wanted to try to like stay kind of like toned in my photography. It's like a muscle, like you're constantly working out. Now, like as soon as you stop working off that muscle is just gonna atrophy and flatten and all that. And so I was like, I'm gonna take a picture of everything. I'm gonna constantly work that muscle, so I'm constantly toned and all that. So I would like go out and take whatever pictures I could. I tried to like push myself with this project called Project 365, where you basically you have to take a picture every day for a whole year and kind of talk about it. So that was kind of my way of just like, build muscle,
pump it
muscle.
up.
Don't stop. Like, keep this momentum going. And then I tried to put my name out there and try to put some work in some galleries, which I know I've gotten into 2 galleries throughout the country. I think one was in Maine. And then I had a friend who had gotten like a job at a newspaper and asked me to send in some photos. So I'd like gotten some pictures printed in like a newsletter and all that. So it felt accomplished there. And so I was just doing whatever I could to like keep that momentum going. And then once that 5-year mark hit after college, it was like 2018. And I was like, dang it, I'm still not in the professional field. I'm like, that's when it started like hit me, because I was like, oh shoot, I've hit the ranks of those everyone's statistics. Like I was looking at like all my peers who, the ones I was in college with, and some of them have like stopped being in photography altogether and gone somewhere else. Like, it's true. I won't let that fate befall me.
And
so, but luckily there were some times where you just have to, you're just kind of landed in this kind of opportunity. So in 2016, I went to Israel for like a church trip, and I did like a body of work out there. In 2014, my family went on this cruise to Alaska. And so that was an opportunity to do another body of work. And then recently, 2019, I was in Japan, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to like take in all the photos. So I was able to do a body of work out there. So that kind of brings us to this modern day. What am I going to do next?
So I mean, there's like different types of photographers, right? Like, you have the modeling photographers or and all that. How would you describe your photography? Like, because through those 5 years, there's probably there's different avenues to take photography, right? Like, was there one, through your work, like how would you describe the way like you take pictures?
I always find myself, I love taking pictures of things happening in the moment. So like you're almost taking like this still out of real time, and you're just kind of focusing on that and expanding it and all that. So I love things that are caught in the moment, like frozen in time. You see any other photography, and a lot of people ask me like, oh, you're a photographer, so you must take pictures of like weddings, or you must take pictures
Yeah,
of
yeah.
models. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do that, but like I feel like, it's not, photography is not just limited to that.
Yeah.
um I really love, like, it goes back to my love of movies again. Like, I love taking something that looks like it could be in a movie, like a still frame from a film, and I'm just like, oh, that looks like a beautiful shot. Like that 1 second in time when everything kind of meshed together, like those elements kind of fit everything. Everything was like a beautiful 1 second moment before um, it all those elements went their separate ways.
Yeah.
And I find it kind of magical when that happens, when you just like, you look through your viewfinder and something is just like gelling in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like light's perfect, color's perfect, composition's perfect, and all like almost for the brief second everything kind of like is in harmony, and then you take
Yeah,
that
yeah.
photo and then all those elements disperse, and oh man, it's like Harry Potter moment for me.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I get to do that like every single time I
Uh-huh.
hit the shutter. And so like for me, that's like makes my heart pound whenever I see a moment that's like I could just like feel like I could freeze that single second, just like keep that with me forever and all that. So I like taking pictures almost like street photography style. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you could stand still and smile and all that, but I like almost kind of seeing your character in motion. I feel like you see more of a person's personality and character when it's almost kind of like a candid moment,
Yeah.
rather than just like, all right, 1, 2, 3, click, and you just like,
Mm-hmm.
you see everyone just kind of smile, and then they go back to what they do. My kind of idea is like, oh, I want to capture that second after the
Mm-hmm.
shutter clicks, when everyone's like, okay, like, you got the photo, I'm just gonna go about my
Yeah.
daily routine now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You want the after
yeah,
moment, the behind, like after the portrait, you know.
yeah. It's also spurned on by well, of course, this, knowing our family.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever our family goes to any kind of location, there's gonna be like 50 photographs of
Yep.
varying combinations. I was like, oh, we're in front of this tree that says "Welcome to Georgia." Okay, Stephen, you go there now. Scott, now mom and dad.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
mom
yeah.
and Scott. Now
Yeah,
dad
yeah.
and Scott. Now dad and Stephen. Now mom and Stephen. And
Yeah,
you're just like,
yeah,
how many times do we have to take a picture of this
yeah.
welcome,
Welcome
welcome
to
to
Welcome
welcome
to
to Georgia
Georgia.
sign?
Yeah, that's
I'm just
true.
like, can't you just take a picture of me like playing on the playground, or looking at this like weird weird twig I found on the ground? But no, it's like a
Yeah.
lot of it was mainly kind of my rebellion against our family, and all those pictures of photographs, like, oh, here we are at this like random Shell gas station
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Tennessee. Here you go. All right, now let's do the combination shuffle again. One picture with mom, one picture with dad, one picture with your brother. Now one picture with mom and your brother. Now one picture with me and my mom.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like, oh god, we just used up a whole roll of film on
Oh
like the
man, that would
stupidest.
yeah, no wonder you feel hurt, like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
can't believe we're wasting film on like 5 different pictures of the same thing.
yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. It's like when that's all done with, you move like 10 feet, and you're like, oh, here's this random park bench. let's
Yeah.
let's take a picture of this same combination again. Boom, boom, boom. You're just like, can we move it along, please? And so yeah, a lot of my photography was just like my rebellion against that. Like, what if we got a picture of us just playing? And isn't that
Yeah,
more fun?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's like this picture of me holding this butterfly. Isn't that more fun than just taking a picture of another welcome to whatever state where we drove through sign and
Hmm.
all that? So
So So have you ever considered like pursuing like magazine work or something? Like you mentioned those photos, like those are type of photos you see like on National Geographic or Time magazine, stuff, those moments in time. Did you ever want to pursue like magazine stuff? And as kind of a piggyback on that, what's the what's the Jack's photography scene like? Is it non-existent? Is it there? It's just how would you describe that? um
Um, so like for your first question, I did want to pursue something with like Life and Time magazine, especially like you see a photo and it just tells a story. Like,
uh
of course, like you'll see a photo of like uh, some war zone somewhere in some foreign land. You just like you see someone uh, who is experiencing like joy or happiness or tragedy all captured in this one frame. You're just like, I wonder what their story's like. I wonder what all the moments that led to that uh, picture being taken. And so
yeah.
you kind of like, you kind of wonder what that story is. And a lot of people get moved to by like a single picture frame. And
uh
some of those frames are like, they stick with you for a long time. Like, there's like famous war photographers that influence me because they like a lot of their pictures, they stick with you. And I wanted to kind of do that as well. Like have a picture that's almost timeless, even though it was something that was taken 20, 30 years ago. Like have that feel like, oh, that could have just been shot yesterday and published and all that.
yeah.
Um, so I really wanted to have like my goal, my ideal dream would be like having a thing in Time magazine or the New Yorker or anything.
hmm
And um, but that's kind of hard today because one, like, a lot of people don't read print. It's all digital now, and
yeah.
it's very pervasive. Like it's all out there now. Um, so that's kind of like a dream for a different era and all that.
True, true.
So like yeah, in this world of like social media, like anyone can make a post and post it in the 30 seconds and all that. As for like the Jacksonville scene, it's I'm very proud of like our city. Like I follow a lot of Instagrammers, influencers that are just like, oh, here's a portion of the city that is not getting a lot of, or you've probably never seen before. I'm like, dude, that's in our city.
Yeah, yeah,
That's I mean, pretty much, growing up, my world was basically home, school, church, and the mall. And
yeah,
that
yeah.
was that was my bubble. And so seeing like different aspects of the city get recognition, or seeing that like, oh shoot, you don't have to travel to like New York to see something cool like that. That's like happening here in your own hometown.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm happy that like there's a culture for that here in Jacksonville.
Okay. So I mean, you mentioned social media before. You know, everyone's got the latest cameras, not only just Nikon cameras and like the big boy cameras, but also phones. Like,
Yeah.
iPhone cameras are pretty much almost top of the line type stuff. What is your, I guess, do you have an opinion like with photography right now? Like, um, the way people use phones and apps compared to like cameras and stuff. Like which one do you prefer? I know you dabble in both.
Mhm.
Um, but do you still prefer the camera, or do you actually like, hey, I can actually take a better photo just with my phone? Like, where are you on that?
That's kind of like this weird gray area, because like one, I love, you know, I love vintage. I love, sticking to your roots and all that of like digital cameras and whatnot. But it's also like, phones these days are just like they've hit another level to the point where, my iPhone that I have currently has way more power in it than the DSLR camera that got me through college.
Yeah.
Like the camera I used through college was like a Nikon D5000, which had like a resolution of like 12 megapixels. And that was HD for the time. But my phone right now is, I don't know what the specs are on it right now, but it's way above that capacity for like the front camera.
For the front camera.
For the front camera, or like your selfie camera has like runs like 12 megapixels, and then your camera lens now has like
3 different lenses in it.
Yeah, 3 different lenses, and they can shoot at like a wide aperture for like to get these artistic kind of blurry photos. And they have like higher resolution megapixels in my camera, which is like 5 pounds of glass and mechanics and all that. And so when it comes down to it, for convenience, like rather than if there's something going on and I have my regular DSLR camera, there's a moment where I have to like pause, get it out of the bag, choose the right lens, turn it on, and then point and shoot, rather than the convenience of I could just whip out my phone and take a picture and then edit it post-production wise and all that. But also there's like when I was in college, there was like still a love for film, like disposable cameras. Like before, for me, I started off working in a photo lab. Like, I'd get a ton of these cameras in, and it'd be like, okay, you'll get it in either 1 hour or the next day. And so there's like a waiting period of like, did those photos of my recent trip to the beach, they turn out all right? There's like a delay period, but like now, that delay period is like down to like how fast can I whip my phone out of my pocket and do that. So I don't know. I'm like a traditionalist, but I'm also, some of the best photos I've ever shot have been on my phone and all that. Like I have a body of work that I did in Japan that was just shot on the phone. Like my brother's recent wedding, I shot some photos on like my phone, posted online. People are like, dude, what kind of camera are you rocking with that? I'm like, dude, I'm just using my regular phone. And that's
I'm using my phone. Like, I want to tell you I'm using my big boy camera, but I'm using my phone. I'm just like, dude, I'll just use this and then process through like one app, and then boom, it's on social media. Like from the time I hit, click on the shutter to it being up on the internet, it's like 2 minutes max, rather than back 10 years now. It's just like, oh, I have to turn in this camera, wait 24 hours or an hour, and then see what the negatives are, and then upload it. And so I don't know, it's just weird, kind of like, I love it. I love it, and it's very useful, but like I don't want to lose that roots of photography of just like, oh, this is your fundamentals. Because anyone these days could like pick up the phone, take a picture, process it through the right filter, and they'll be like, oh dude, this is totally Pinterest worthy. I'm like, no, I went to school for all these years to take pictures. I'm like, I want to kind of stick to that root. That's true. I mean, probably over the last 10 years, ever since the iPhone came out, or just so smartphones in general, they changed the game for photography. Like
Yeah.
you said, like you can spend $1,000 on a phone and get, DSLR quality, like, I mean, photos. You could use 5 different apps, subscriptions, and get the post production that you would spend like maybe $400-$500 on, kind
Yeah.
of like. And I that's why I kind of wanted to hear your perspective, because you're kind of like, you were in that, it's almost like the internet, like pre-internet, post-internet, like type thing. You're in photography was like pre iPhone, and pre like and post iPhone,
Yeah.
where it's just like, it changes the
It's this
game.
yeah, it's this weird transition of like the old school into the future and all that.
Yeah.
And even today, like even to like a modern context, like there's a lot of like big name studios directors that are shooting on iPhones now.
Hmm.
Like they've shot feature films on an iPhone, and I'm like, dude, I could, if you didn't tell me that, I would never have known.
Yeah.
um I'd be like, dude, well, like how much money did you just drop on that? And they're like, dude, that's I did that, with just my regular phone. And like, what?
Yeah.
But
Does it like, does it challenge, like, is it challenging for you to like see all these photos are just shot on the phone, or just shot like with ease, and they say it's a good picture, even though they think it's a good picture, but you were taught in school different like techniques, different
mhm,
viewpoints, how your professors teach you like, this is photography. And then you go
yeah,
into the real world and you go on Instagram and Facebook, and they're like, this is photography. I know
oh
there's different
yeah,
levels to it. Like, how do you feel? Like, I know there's has to be some sort of like clashing, because your opinion of a great, and again, it's like, it's an opinion, but do you have
mhm.
that struggle sometimes where you're like, you look at a photo and you're like, you're seeing all this like, oh, that's a great photo, and you're like, maybe this could have been a little, you know, how do you balance that out? Like, it's, because you see
Yeah,
photos
that's
every single day on Instagram, and it's just, I
yeah.
feel like in your type perspective, where you went to school and all that, you have that different lens. So I'm wondering like how, what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, it's kind of a push and pull, because like anyone can be a photographer these days. If you
Mhm.
so like, for me, I spent years in college, and had to have this kind of like drilled into me. But like anyone could like pick up the phone these days, and they're just like, take a picture, and dude, that thing goes viral and whatnot. And so, there's there's this kind of like uh you know kind of this conflict in me, where I'm just like, I I like, how did you do that? I worked hard. I had to develop my own style. But not that I'm like, I don't want to say I'm like irritated by it. Every
Yeah.
art in its like is subjective.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different for everyone. Um, but I just like, it's weird when I see a good picture, and then I see like who took the picture. I was like, oh, it's like 13-year-old kid who's just messing around. And but like I'm in, I had gone through all those struggles of like trying to scan photos and learned these ways and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's Yeah, I like my generation was in like this kind of transition period
Yeah.
of of change and all that. But I don't know. It's like it's convenient, but at the same time, like, you know, there's like too much of it and
Yeah.
and whatnot. So
Yeah. I definitely get you. Like with the word viral wasn't really like a thing, back
yeah.
in the day, and just
Mhm.
like the whole. I guess the whole trend of being viral and all that, it really just, for me, I mean, it's just like from my lens, it's just kind of like, it's kind of, it kind of drowned the other people who are trying to like be like that creative
Yeah.
space, it's like art is subjective, but there comes to a point where there's so much of one thing, it kind of pushes the creativity starts to go down. If
Yeah.
stuff is becoming viral at a rapid pace and you kind of see the same thing getting viral, or the same,
Yeah.
and there's no, I wouldn't say effort, but it's just like no creativity,
Yeah.
it kind of, for me it kind of just like, wow, where's the, like, one of the people I was fascinated with back in the day was Banksy. Like, he did all these paintings in the
Hmm.
street, and his stuff went viral because it's just like random everywhere, or like,
Yeah.
and there's kind of something, and his stuff was just like, it could be anything,
Yeah.
and you just wouldn't know where it could be, the mystery of it is kind of, it was the one that was just kind of like, I wanted to watch more, like, where is it going to be next. And I think social media, these social media sites, you know just the internet in general has kind of watered it down to where, and you can probably you can definitely speak on it more than me. It's just, it feels like the creativity is down, the mystery is down.
Yeah.
Those photos that you were alluding to, you know it's just not, people don't want that anymore. I don't know if people, like, I just feel like the pool of people who want that are just smaller than, you know the photography that's really prevalent right now.
Yeah.
um
I feel like it's because like it's almost like fast food. It's like, oh, you want something, you get it, and it satisfies you at the moment. I kind of That's kind of like what viral is.
yeah.
Like, oh, it's something that's like really cool. I'm just gonna hop on that bandwagon and do that. But if you think of like the old masters, like the old Renaissance masters, like when the Michelangelo statue was created, that was something of magic because it took time, it took a careful hand, and then when it finally came out, I was like, oh, this is truly one of its kind. And but like today now, I was like, oh, well, I could just go to a gift shop and go buy a Michelangelo statue and all that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that time of like patience, there's the magic of it, of like something that was like birthed from your concept, and you walked it through from your mind and you gave it life on a page or on a piece of artwork. That for me is like a beautiful process where it's just like, it starts in your mind, you translate it to your hand, and you give it life, out in the world somewhere.
Hmm.
Somehow that process has been like shortcutted somehow.
Yeah,
It's more
yeah.
like, oh, here's something, take a picture, now it's out in the world. It's like
Uh-huh.
bam, 1 2 3, rather than just like, I'm gonna take this, let it mold, let it percolate, let it grow, and here it is, here's the final project, rather than, you know I'm just gonna chow down on all this content. I need
Yeah,
content.
yeah, you can just
So
go on hashtag photography on Instagram and just kind of get your fill about
yeah.
like what you want,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's fascinating what, like, how do you think photography is going to be in the next like 5-10 years? Do you think we'll still continue this trend of like, just, I don't know I don't know how much photos can, like, how phones can get any more realistic, man. Like, it's
Yeah.
scary. We're already at like 14 megapixels, 5K. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of nuts. So I'm like, where do you see photography? Where do you want to see photography in the next like five years?
I mean, I like the idea of sticking to your roots, but eventually you have to learn to adapt to the times and grow and change. and eventually, like, you don't just like hold on to the past and like grip it for your life. No, you kind of build off that foundation and go from there. um I don't know where the field of photography will go, just because, like, when you got like that defining image of, like, this war zone, or this dying artist photo from like the Dust Bowl and the Depression, that was something special. But now, like, you have content constantly coming out. It's like it's hard to tell what's special anymore. um in terms of technology, I think cameras are going to get to the point of, so recently there's a movie that came out called The Batman, and there's a scene where Bruce Wayne has a freaking camera lens in his contact lens.
Oh no.
I think we're gonna get to there. We're just like, we're just gonna have a camera as the size of like a contact lens, put it in our eye, and we'll just like blink, and that'll be the shutter, and then we'll just like pull that sucker out and then print out a photo from there. That's it's gonna get that small and all that. So
I'm surprised we haven't had, like, like scouter types where you have like a scouter over your eye and you have like a button and you're like pressing it and you can take a photo, or just like something sort of. I know like Google Glass was kind of like, I don't know if that's still a thing. But
I was hoping that like one day we would get to like the spycraft level stuff, like, oh, the cameras in your glasses or cameras in your button and all that.
That's true. That's probably out there. It's just very spy tech. Yeah, you mentioned spy tech. Like only like 5 people have it in the world or something.
Yeah,
and they're the ones actually getting the good pictures. They're like, hey, like they're in the war zone. They're like, just take pictures with your eyeglasses and let's go.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, the field of like photography is just like grown by leaps and bounds. Like, just on a modern context, like, do you see pictures of like new pictures of like Mars and all that?
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago, Mars would have been like this blurry red dot.
Like like squares. You just see squares of different colors.
You see like this patchwork of low res photos, and now it's like, oh dude, you can see it in 5K, and you're just like, dude, that's another planet that we're photographing now.
I know. It's scary. And then also it's also scary.
And then, I don't know, like what the like, I imagine in the medical field you'll have drones the size of like blood cells, and you can just like fly a drone into the human body, sci-fi style, all that. So I don't know, the possibilities are only limited by someone's imagination and all that.
So I guess like for you, speaking personally, what, so you're on year what? You're 20? Are you 20, 15, 20?
I mean, if you're starting from when I first picked up a camera, probably year 30. I don't know.
You're 30.
But yeah, it's almost so I graduated high school in 2005.
Okay.
So
you're like right around like
years.
Yeah. So what's your goals over the next 5 years? Is there some place you want to, I know you visited a couple places. Is there something that you want to do within the next 5 years that you want to accomplish? Go to any places, go to any events, like to photography? What's kind of your plans?
I don't know. Yeah, the world's a big place, and like in terms of photography, you're really only getting like the minuscule kind of frame out of this whole world and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of places I'd love to explore. I want to, like, one of my dream goals is maybe go to Norway. I would love to see the Northern Lights one day and photograph it. I don't want to play it safe all the time, so I'd like to do some underwater photography, but I can't swim or anything. I'll just be like I'll
Just put me in the
dangle
cage. Put me in the
just put me in a
cage,
cage.
and then like I'll take pictures and little like raise it back up.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but this year I tried to challenge myself by actually selling my artwork. And so a number of people, mainly family so far, have purchased prints, but I would like to like be involved in like a marketplace and just put my name out there and sell some prints, and or maybe like network some more and get to know other photographers and like cooperate with them, or
Yeah.
just get back out there. um but yeah, I mean, like, I'm not one to like, I mean, I would love to have a studio, but I feel like I don't want to be just tied to the studio. I want to explore. That's kind of like my mandate, my manifest destiny. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I want to go explore and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see the world and all that. So
Yeah.
so
That's cool.
we'll
Like
see.
I know, I mean, you mentioned your prints beforehand, just now, like, yeah, I mean, you did an amazing job on those photos, man. I gotta say, like, those are just um those are some really impressive stuff. Like, do you have like a favorite out of the bunch? I know it's like choosing your kids, but do you have a kind of like any one of those photos that kind of stick to your mind, like a good story with it, or something like that?
um yeah, so recently I did a road trip in Washington State, and I was in this town of Port Angeles, Washington, and so I kind of walked around the city for a bit and was just like snapping photographs. I came across this record store that was like had this funky like outside decor, which was like these old vinyl records I guess had been out in the sun for so long that they were starting to warp and crinkle, and so I was like, oh, that's cool. So I'll take a photograph of that, and that was like with my phone. And it wasn't until later I saw on the sign, one, it was like it's only open for like 4 hours one day a week. And so it had like this kind of hours sign, and it was like open from 11 to 3 on Saturday. The rest of the days I'm at my real job and all that. And so I was like, oh, it's kind of a funny thing. But I didn't see that sign first. I was kind of interested in these like warped vinyl records. But yeah, that was kind of, I had a fun trip in Washington State visiting family, but mainly just because like I wanted to road trip and see the Pacific Northwest and all that.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool, man. Like, so yeah, like, all those photos. I think that photo sold out, right? Are you making any more though of that one, or?
Yeah, yeah, that one I just described of like the vinyl records, that was like the one that sold out the fastest. I had printed a handful at the time, but that was the one that was just like, hey, can I get that vinyl record? I'm like, yeah, sure. What about like the other ones? I got other ones here. It's like, yeah, that's cool and stuff, but that vinyl record one, give me that one. And I was like,
Are you gonna make more
okay,
of
thank
those,
you.
or?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna print more. I just wanted to get a feel of it first.
Uh-huh.
So if that's like the hot seller, then I'll print more of that, and then maybe when it comes down to like a pop-up marketplace, I'll have these on sale somewhere.
So, and would you be down to do like a pop-up, like outside, like just like a like like in Jack's, like a vagabond flea or art walk or something?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I would love to do that. Like I know some people who have been involved in like Art Walk and some other kind of marketplaces, and so I'm like, yeah, I would be down to just like chill one day and just sell stuff and talk with people. So.
Would you ever be down to put your like artwork on like a shirt or something like that? Like, just put, like, let's
Oh
say you
yeah,
put that final and put it on a shirt or a hat or something like that. Have you
I
thought
hope
of that?
so. As long as the owner of that store is like doesn't call me, he's like, hey, I heard someone out there is like been selling my merch, been promoting store without me getting a cut of that cake, that slice of the pie. So I'm here
And
to take
he's at his real
everything.
job most of the time, so
Yeah.
he won't mind. That person will not mind.
No, yeah, but like I would love to maybe one day put it on a sticker or a hat or merchandise. It's kind of
Hell yeah,
so
man.
weird having my name on merchandise. Like,
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's like the next step, man. Like I feel like
yeah,
photography, like you have it on, like the dream is always to put in a gallery, right? Like, and
yeah,
I feel like that pivot, if you can't have a gallery, is just have it on t-shirts. People love t-shirts. People love hats
yeah.
and
Especially if
stickers.
it's free. Especially if it's free.
Yeah, free. Especially if it's
Yeah,
free. Yes.
it's free.
Um,
Just free marketing. But
yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah, man. Shoot, hey, toss me a t-shirt. I'll wear that thing every day to work.
I
But
know.
but all right. So I think that's all the questions I have. Definitely got to plug the website. It's rcgamut.com, right?
Yes, my
Okay.
first and last name, ARCEEGAMIT.com.
Okay.
And
So
that place should have the links to like my other social medias, Instagram, Facebook,
okay.
other places.
So the last thing we'll talk about is your trip coming up, right? So your trip, you're coming
Yeah.
going to New York. I'll have
Yes.
this podcast actually posted when you go to New York. So,
Cool.
you can listen to it while you're,
On the
doing your
airplane
thing.
ride.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, so tell me about your trip to New York. What are you have you have a goal set in mind, like what you want to try to look for, or you kind of just going in there
So
just to kind of, just kind of browse.
uh one, it's a little, I kind of just wanted to get away. Two, so we've been to New York twice now, in 2016 and 2017 for New York Comic Con. And we were only there for a couple of days. One is really dedicated to like the convention, and then you have another day, full day of New York, and that's not really enough time to
It's not.
see everything.
It's not.
So I'm really gonna go try to visit a lot of museums, do a lot of solo traveling. So I'm really staying within the limits of the Manhattan Island, but I'm going to try to do things that, well, one, I going back to my love of movies, there's a lot of iconic landmarks that are in movies that I would just like love to see. That's almost like a pilgrimage for me
Mhm.
for movies. And so I definitely want to check that out, but I definitely want to hit up the museums and explore the city, explore like this urban jungle, this urban
True.
concrete jungle, and maybe photograph that.
So this is
Hopefully I
like
come
your
back alive.
you'll be fine. What so is this kind of like your next project? You're gonna try to find some shots and then, kind of do the same thing that what you're doing now with the prints? Like, is
I
that
think so. I mean, I'm not looking to create like a full body of work.
Mhm.
I'm hoping maybe two or three good photos, enough for me to like print them, and put them on my website. Or but yeah, I'm not there for I'm only there for like 5 days. So in that time span, I should, law of averages says I should at least have like two or three good photos that I could like surf on for a bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool, man. I love New York, man. It's I definitely want to head back over there. I mean, not even because of a convention or anything. I just like the whole the sounds, not the smells, but the sounds
That
of New
smells.
York.
That's why I'm going so early in the year. I don't want to go there during the summer.
Yeah,
I'm like, I
yeah.
kind of want it before it gets the smell of sewage and
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 trash.
garbage in the morning. Yeah.
All right, man. So thank you. Hey, thank you again for sharing sharing your photography story. I know that, I definitely learned a lot about your photography origins. Because and you've been doing this for a very long time, and I think it's very like it's cool to kind of get your perspective on, photography back then to photography now, and just like your whole path to it. Because I feel like it's kind of a it's kind of a rare thing nowadays. Like so I'm glad you shared us your story and stuff, and hopefully we can do this again, another pod, maybe a follow-up, talk about some more adventures and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, sure thing, man. Appreciate you doing this and
yeah, man.
allowing me to talk for all this time.
Yeah, it's all good, man. All right, well, thank you guys for listening, and more podcasts coming soon. Until next time, guys, we will talk to you all later. Peace out.